Hi, I'm Penny, this is Penelope's Pitstop, and in this issue of the Spitfire build we're going to be doing issue 21, control column and floor of cockpit, and because issue 22, fuselage panel to fit beneath the cockpit, there isn't actually anything to do, so I'm just going to bring that issue into this video.
For those who fought in the Battle of Britain, it was a battle for survival. For the free world, it was a breathless moment in history. For failure would have plunged mankind into a new dark age. Never have so many owed so much to so few.
So welcome to issue 21. We have completed 20 issues, and when you look at what we've done in the first 20 issues, this next few issues have got a lot to live up to. The absolute amazing details that we've got, it's just terrific. So let's have a look at what we've got with issue 21. So we have got 2101 cockpit floor frame, 2102 control column, 2103 pneumatic hoses, and then that gives us 4 sets of screws, which is 04 is KB 1.7 by 4 mil, 5 is KM 1.6 by 3 mil, 6 is KM 1.6 by 4 mil, and 21 is PWB 1.7 by 3, and lastly we have piece 8, which is a washer. Okay, so having learnt my lesson in previous issues, I have popped the screws into tubs and labelled them up. However, we won't need that straight away. So the first thing we're going to need is 2006K, which is this beautiful round piece. Now be careful because this piece is part of it. So I'm just going to cut the tiny black bit at the top, and then I will cut this bit at the bottom. So that looks like that's cut really nicely. However, you may be tempted to just put a little bit of black paint on there. No, I don't think it needs it. So we'll just trim this up. Right, the next piece we will need is 2102, which should come with this week's issue. So, and then what's going to happen is this is going to go through there. Okay, and then that will go through with a washer. One washer, and also 2107, which is a PWB screw 1.7 by 3 millimeters. So there's only 2 of these, so we know we only need 1 for the build because they often give us 1 spare. So what's going to happen is we'll pop the washer onto the screw so that it's on there. So this is going to thread through there like that, and then sorry, I just got a bit confused. So we're going to screw that onto there, and these top hat screws are often used for moving parts, which is why I'm a little bit confused, because this looks like a joystick, and I have never seen an airplane joystick that moves sideways and backwards and forwards. Oh yes, of course, so it only moves backwards and forwards and the top moves. That's really interesting. As you can probably guess, I've never flown a Spitfire. I have flown, not solo, but I've never flown a Spitfire for the reasons that they would never allow an air cadet up in a Spitfire because the cost would be too much in the event of an accident. So yeah, I understand now that this top half, that's quite sophisticated, I think. So the next stage, stage 2, we need to be putting this piece on, which is pneumatic hoses, and these will attach in 2 places, and they will attach there and also there, and you see the end of the hoses just go through that little hole there. So let's get the glue out, and I think what we will do, we'll test fit that with, again, with tweezers, because I'm looking at the glue positions, and I think it's going to be too tricky to do with fingers. So yeah, let's place the glue on the pneumatic hoses and then bring the pneumatic hoses onto the joystick, the control grip. They're calling it a control grip, so I will call it a control grip, because then if I'm wrong I can blame them, but if they're right and I call it something else, I'm going to look silly, aren't I? Not that I probably don't already look silly. So top half goes in, middle goes in, middle doesn't want to go in anymore. Let go of the tweezers, hold that for about 5 seconds. I think I'll press this in place with a cocktail stick, and I think that's in place. So I've got to be honest with you, that silver bit is kind of off-putting to me, but you know, that's the way it is. So I assume that's supposed to move, because they wouldn't put a screw in otherwise, would they? So that is stage 2 done. So I'm afraid I've got to turn the page now. So stage 3, piece 2101. So this is an interesting looking piece made of metal, and I can see that what we have to do is hold this so the screw is showing and the pneumatic hoses aren't. We need to place that in there, then twist it, and it's going to go there, and I hope we've got that correct. So I'm going to have a little look towards the future issues, and I think that's the wrong way round. So let's give it another twist, but it doesn't want to go, there we go. So yeah, it doesn't want to go in place. Right. So following the instructions, oh no it's not. Right, let's do it again. So following the instructions, we want the screw showing, we want to place that in through the middle, and then we want to twist it. Yeah, that is right. So, but when it's hanging upside down like this, I don't think this is right. Okay, it's because I've placed it in the wrong place. Right, sorry guys. So let's start again. I'm trying to place it there, but it actually needs to go there. So let's start again with these wings upwards and the screw showing. We place it into there, and then we twist, and then you don't know if you can see a couple of recesses there. It will just rest on those recesses. So that looks fine now. So I'm having to hold this now. So the next stage is stage 4, and we need this piece here. So it's going to be a little bit awkward doing it without a free hand, but I'm sure we can cope. So this is going to go over there, and it needs to come, this flat square piece needs to be pointing downwards, and that's going to go in like that. So then we need to screw that down with KM 1.6 by 4mm screws. So that's these ones. So we need 2 of them. But I can't pick 2 up. No, I never can. But there we are. So let's place a screw on that. I notice we're getting a lot of countersunk screws, and we're even using them in places where do you know what, that's not going in. That doesn't want to know. Having said that, it is going in, so it just doesn't seem to be coming to a stop. It's holding in. There we go. I was almost there, but not quite. So I don't know how far to go with this. This is obviously intended to move, or is it? Ooh. So I don't know how tight to go with this. I really don't, because I fear that if I go too tight, it's going to either break the plastic piece, and or this joystick's not going to move. But it seems that no matter how much I tighten it, once you get it past the start point, it just becomes floppy, which again, I don't want it floppy. So I'm going to actually quit there. So I'm going to call that screwed in. So that takes us to, well, that is stage 3 and 4. Oh, sorry, that's stage 4. Stage 5, we need this piece with the silver bit on, which is piece 2006J. So maybe this has got nothing to do whatsoever with the joystick. And we don't need, that needs to be flat on the end, so that still isn't finished. So this piece, and that is going to there. So there's a little hole. It's actually not a hole, it looks like there should be a hole. No. Okay, so what happens is you've got 2 recesses, one each side, and this isn't a hole, it's actually got it's got a little peg on the inside. So what's going to happen is that will go on to there. It's going to be tricky because you're trying to aim this on a circle, but once it's in, it's going to be a really good fit. Right, so just gently bending this, not to make it bigger, but just to make it slightly more flexible. This is going to be tricky to do. I knew it would be as soon as I saw what we had to do. There we go, that's gone in. So you just have to keep persevering. So that's basically what it's going to do. So stage 6, we now need to turn upside down, and we now need part 2004, which is this piece. So we need, it's basically a T-bar, and this is going to be positioned where I originally tried to put the steering column, and that is going to slide over the end of the part that we've just put in, and that all makes sense now. That's actually going to stiffen that, so it should now stay wherever I put it. I think this is more for effect than actual use, but that's fine. And then we need to so that's stage 6. Stage 7 are these two little gripper bits, and this is where the screwing comes in. Now, I wonder why they've done it this way. I will explain my words in a moment. Just pop that in there because we need that part. So we also need KM 1.6 by 3 mil, which is these ones, and we will need 4, which we should have 5, which we have got. So the spare one can go back in the pot. So what's going to happen now is we're going to take these, they look like cable clips, you know, what you screw down cables with, and let me place one. It's going to be difficult to explain. It's quite right. So over these ends we're going to clamp down the T part of this little thing. What do you call it? Right, that's not wanting to go in. I haven't got it quite in the right place, so it's actually screwing into nothing. So we need to make sure that's lined up. So we place that in there. Has it made it? Yes, it's made it. Right, so with it almost complete, almost filled in, it's, this end is still quite wobbly, so I'm actually going to put the other side in as well. I did want to clamp one down before I put the other one in, but I don't think that's going to be a good idea. So that goes on to there. At least with one screw in, it's holding it down a little bit. So then I'll put the next 2 screws in. Oops, didn't mean to, but I dropped that one on the table. So then we screw this down, and that can go as tight as you want, and then we'll just adjust the first one to make that tight. You don't want that too tight because it's going to restrict the movement. If it clamps that down too tight, nothing's going to move. So second screw goes into this side, and then the first one, and there we go. So those 2 grips are now in place. So now we've got, it's actually a stopper for the control stick. Now don't push it too much because it's not going to want to go. So yeah, that I'm very happy with. So we'll pop the lid on. If you've seen one of my previous videos, you'll know I do put lids on now, and you'll know why. So stage 8. Oh, you're going to like this. So stage 8, we need to get the seat. Now the seat only has 2 screw points, and they go into there like so, and they will be screwed from below with KB 1.7 by 4 mil screws, of which we have got 3, so we only need the 2. So I will load one up on my screwdriver. Ready? I will hold down the seat. Oh, do you know what? You're not going to believe this. That screw stayed on. Look at that. So we will screw one screw into the bottom, just as a holding screw, and that doesn't want to go in. It does now. Right, so that's held the seat on, and then we'll take the second screw, and we can screw this one in as much as we like. And I'm going to screw it to there because it's decided to stop. Then holding the seat down, I'm going to finish this screw off until it wants to stop. Then we'll just check. Yeah, that's a little bit loose. So I'll give this half a turn. With regards to how much to turn and how I know how much to turn, that really is just experience. You give it a shake and that's solid now. You just give it a shake and you just know from how much it shakes how much to turn. That just felt like a half a turn shake. So there you go, that is now the seat done. Right, we've got another piece to put in, which is stage 9, piece 2006. So that's this one that I've been looking at. So many levers and buttons to play with. I'm actually almost envious of the World War II Spitfire pilots. Note I said almost, because I wouldn't fancy people shooting at me. So that's going to go in like that. Obviously that's not sitting properly because it's not glued in, but we will soon solve that. So let's see if we can get some glue that hasn't. Oh, lovely. So it just saves me going into the pot. So that goes in, and it's, I don't understand what this part is, but it's pointing forwards. So I'm waiting for someone to say it's a handbrake, and then I know that they will be pulling my leg. So there we go, that's in place there. So that's another little detail added. I do like the way, I mean, I don't think it does any purpose, this moving, but it's nice, isn't it? So I wonder actually if it's going to move. No, I was going to suggest maybe I should leave the steering wheel at an angle to show that it does move, but then if it shows that it does move, does that then encourage people to actually move it? So step 10, we need to go back to the cockpit, and we take the front at the front, we turn it upside down, and I'm going to be careful here because there's so many things to catch. That wants to go into there. Right, and it's now becoming very clear as to why. Oh, right. So this piece is meant to go into that lug there, which will bring this one forward, but there's a little stopper there, so that's going to need to go underneath that, which means that we need to there we go. So just lift the front up and then that will pull everything into place, and there's a locating tab there. So right, so let me just place that there. So at the front and the back we need KM 1.6 by 4mm screws. So these are the 1.7, 1.6 by 4mm, and we need 4, so I hope there's 5 in here. Yep, which there is. So let's pop them into there. Let's get one ready. Pop the screwdriver down like that, so we can pick this up. I'm holding the framework so that it doesn't move things about, and I'm going to pop any corner. There's 4 corners, but I'm just going to pop that one in just enough to grab it. Then my next screw will be the opposite corner, which is this one there. Right, then I will grab either of the 2 corners that are left. Let's go this one because we're already in that general area. Sorry, I didn't point out where the screws were, but 1, 2, 3, 4. and the last screw, which we're just putting in enough to grab, is this one. So now we can tighten the screws up, and these are all screwing into metal. There we go. So that's in solid. Look at that. How amazing is that? It's a mess, but it's a beautiful mess. So we've got the moving steering column and the mechanism of it. Oh, it's wonderful. So guys, that is actually the completed work for this issue. We will be doing another stage, or will we? So yeah, this is the completed stage, and I'll bring that up to about there. That looks absolutely amazing. So shall we do the next stage? Now I am going to, I did mention at the beginning, and there is a reason I'm bringing it up into this stage. This is the parts, and as per usual, let's have a look at the parts list. And the parts list is 2201 fuselage, and that's why I'm going to bring it up. There is absolutely nothing to do in this issue. I don't even want to open this because this is so delicately wrapped. However, I suspect we will work on it in the next issue, which could be up to 4 weeks away, but this is it. Is that not amazing? So it kind of brings in, earlier on I had a little bit of a play, and I placed this roughly where I thought it would be, and I couldn't really figure out where it was going to go. Now that we've got this piece in, we can try and perhaps figure out where that's going to go. So I think that's going to go there. It certainly looks like it's going to fit there. So then from there we can perhaps try to look at where this is going to fit. So that looks like, no, that's not a good location. That isn't. So I'm assuming that this is going to fit onto there. Do you know, I can't find anywhere for it to go. There we go. No, that's not a good fit either. So this is all rather interesting. So I have no idea where it's going to go. So there's a hole there, and I'm going to guess that's going to be a stand, part of a display stand. So that will perhaps lift it up, the rod at the back, and push it down, and then obviously we'll have one on each wing. So yeah, that is next week's piece, or this week's piece, sorry, issue 22. Absolutely beautiful piece, really love it. But I am going to wrap it back up, and it's going to live in its box for another issue, possibly longer. I'm not disappointed by issue 22 because it's a beautiful piece, and we've kind of got used to doing an awful lot. I think the vast majority of these stages, there's been a lot to do, and sometimes we've carried parts over to future issues, and look at what we're getting as a reward for our work. You know, that's the cockpit, that's the engine. I think we may possibly have seen the last of the high detail, unless we're actually going to have panels to remove things, but obviously in the cockpit and the engine, that's where all the main thing is. normally you wouldn't see in the wings, so you wouldn't see what's going on. So we may actually have lost the high detail. I hope we haven't, but now I think we're going to start working on the size, but it would be natural to say, oh, I've only got one piece, it's not a good issue. But I would disagree with you. So there's been some very long issues because it's been a lot of work, but I think the reward has now started to come out, has started to really come out. Got a little bit of white on there for my super glue. Yeah, this is the reward we've got for it, and I just think we have earned this, and we have got a really good result for it. So anyone who is buying the Spitfire build is very lucky. So I've got to put this on. Yeah, I think you can all be very proud of yourself if your Spitfire looks anything even remotely like mine. If it looks anything like the magazine, yeah, you've done really, really well to get to this stage. So sobbing aside, that's issue 22. Please don't be disappointed, but I should come back next week with some parts to build. So take care, guys.